Eastern Europe. In the last section, you learned about the fall of communism in the Soviet Union. In this section, you'll learn about the fall of communism in other countries in Eastern Europe. Revolutions in Eastern Europe. People in Eastern Europe had not always been happy with their Soviet communist government. After Gorbachev made it clear that the Soviet Union would not interfere militarily in their countries, revolutions broke out throughout Eastern Europe. In Poland, workers' protests led to changes. In 1980, a worker named Lech Walesa organized a national trade union known as Solidarity. Solidarity gained the support of the workers of the Roman Catholic Church. During a period of military rule in the 1980s, Walesa was arrested, but the movement continued. After more demonstrations in 1988, the Polish government agreed to free parliamentary elections, the first free elections in Eastern Europe in 40 years. A new government was elected, ending 45 years of communist rule in Poland. In December 1990, Walesa was chosen as president, but the new path was not easy. Free market reforms led to severe unemployment and discontent. By the end of 1995, Aleksander Kaczynski, a former communist, defeated Walesa and became the new president. He continued Poland's move towards a prosperous free economy. In Czechoslovakia, mass demonstrations took place in 1988 and 1989. In December 1989, the communist government collapsed. At the end of December, Václav Havel became the new president. He was a writer who had played an important role in bringing down the communist government. The new government in Czechoslovakia faced old ethnic conflicts. The two national groups, Czechs and Slovaks, agreed to a peaceful division of the country. On January 1, 1993, Czechoslovakia split into the Czech Republic and Slovakia. In Romania, the communist leader Nicolae Ceausescu had set up a rigid dictatorship in 1965. He used secret police to crush all dissident. His economic policies led to a sharp drop in living standards, including food shortages and the rationing of bread, flour, and sugar. His plan for rapid urbanization also made the Romanian people angry. Entire villages were bulldozed as part of the plan. In December 1989, the secret police murdered thousands of people who were peacefully demonstrating. Finally, the army refused to support any more repression. Ceausescu and his wife were captured and executed. A new government was quickly formed. In East Germany, Erich Honecker became head of the Communist Party in 1971. He used the Stasi, or secret police, to rule for the next 18 years. In 1988, many East Germans began to flee their country. Mass demonstrations broke out in the summer and fall of 1989. On November 9, the communist government gave in and opened the border to the west. Thousands of East Germans rushed across the borders. Families who had not seen each other in years were reunited. People on both sides of the Berlin Wall began tearing the wall down. The government gave in again and ordered the rest of the wall torn down. During East Germany's first free elections in March 1990, the Christian Democrats won almost 50% of the vote. The Christian Democrats supported reunification with West Germany. The reunification of Germany took place on October 3, 1990. The disintegration of Yugoslavia. Although Yugoslavia had a communist government, it had never been part of the Soviet satellite state. After Tito died in 1980, a government composed of representatives of the 6 republics and 2 provinces of Yugoslavia kept the country under communist rule. By 1990, new parties had emerged, and the Communist Party lost its power. The situation in Yugoslavia was complex. In 1990, the Yugoslav republics of Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Macedonia began to push for independence. Slobodan Milosevic, who had become the leader of Serbia in 1987, was against their plans because the republics included Serb minorities. He wanted to redraw borders to include the Serb minorities in a new Greater Serbian state. In June 1991, Slovenia and Croatia declared their independence. In September, the Yugoslavian army began a full assault against Croatia. Serbia dominated the Yugoslavian army. Before ceasefire was arranged, the Serbian forces captured one-third of Croatia's territory. In 1992, the Serbs began an assault against Bosnia-Herzegovina. By mid-1993, Serbian forces had acquired 70% of Bosnian territory. Many Bosnians were Muslims. Toward them, the Serbs followed a policy they called ethnic cleansing, or killing them or forcefully removing them from their lands. By 1995, 250,000 Bosnians, mostly civilians, had been killed, and 2 million others were homeless. In 1995, Bosnia and Croatian forces regained much of the territory that had been lost to Serbian forces. Airstrikes by NATO bombers were launched in retaliation for Serb attacks on civilians. These attacks forced the Serbs to sign a peace treaty on December 14th. The agreement split Bosnia into a loose union of a Serb republic and a Muslim Croat federation. NATO sent a force of 60,000 troops to monitor the area. Peace in Bosnia did not bring peace to the region. A new war began in 1998 over Kosovo. In 1974, Tito had made Kosovo an autonomous or self-governing province within Yugoslavia. Kosovo's inhabitants were mainly ethnic Albanians. In 1989, Milosevic took Kosovo's autonomous status away. Groups of ethnic Albanians formed the Kosovo Liberation Army in the mid-1990s and began a campaign against Serbian rule. In response, Serb forces began to massacre ethnic Albanians. After months of negotiations, the Kosovo Albanians agreed to a peace plan in 1999 that would give them autonomy for a 3-year period. When Milosevic refused to sign the agreement, the United States and its NATO allies began a bombing campaign that forced the Yugoslavian government to cooperate. In the elections of 2000, Milosevic was removed from power.